Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Crypto Live Leak. I'm Ken, and today we're going to discuss comments made by three impressive individuals made yesterday. That's Warren Buffett, the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, Charlie Munger, the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, and of course Bill Gates, the principal founder of Microsoft. So they all weighed in and gave some opinions on Bitcoin, and it's caused quite the stir in the cryptocurrency markets, on Twitter, on Reddit, and there's been a lot of reaction videos made. So let's dive into what they said, analyze their comments, and make an opinion of our own. And then we want to hear, you guys, the audience's opinion on what these great American investors and businessmen had to say about Bitcoin. So starting off, let's take a little listen to what Munger and Gates had to say.
Bitcoin is worthless artificial gold, which if it succeeded would facilitate a lot of illicit activity. Now that is not something I think the world needs. And the fact that it's clever computer science doesn't mean that it should be widely used and that respectable people should encourage other people to speculate in it. Bitcoin reminds me of Oscar Wilde's definition of fox hunting, the pursuit of the uneatable by the unspeakable.
Well, it sounds better than what I used before.
We asked earlier, Charlie, Andrew brought it up with Warren, but...
I think it's a scumball activity. Does that better serve you better?
Thank you. Yeah, we asked earlier about Goldman Sachs getting into the business of having a trading desk for Bitcoin. Berkshire Hathaway owns about $2.5 billion of Goldman Sachs. Does it bother you, or does it not surprise you?
Well, I don't expect every investment bank to agree with everything I think. They have a lot of animal spirits in investment banking.
Bill, Charlie and Warren have weighed in on Bitcoin. Do you own any?
Somebody gave me some for my birthday, and then a few years later I thought, hey, I'm going to sell that. So no. There's some really good technology in terms of sharing databases and verifying transactions that is talked about as blockchain. That is a good thing. Bitcoin and ICOs, I agree completely. It's one of the crazier speculative things where it's not, as an asset class, you're not producing anything. And so you shouldn't expect it to go up. It's kind of a pure greater fool theory type investment. So, I agree. I would short it if there was an easy way to do it.
One of the interesting things, if people react when you criticize their investment, if they get mad, they're gambling. If somebody criticizes Apple or Berkshire, we like it. I mean, if the stock goes down, we'll buy more of it because we don't care whether it's just we don't feel that it has anything to do with it. But if we criticize something that they own because they only want it to go up tomorrow, they feel we are hurting them, and therefore they get very upset about it. If they really like what they own, what difference would it make? If I criticize their wife or something, they don't get all upset about it.
Wait a minute. That's a bad habit.
Yeah, probably not the perfect example to use.
So right off the bat, Charlie here compares Bitcoin to worthless artificial gold. Seems to me like he doesn't have a complete understanding of exactly what Bitcoin is. Basically, it's the value of the Internet of money. You can't really put a comparison to it in terms of gold. Gold is physical, very hard to carry, and not really used as a means of transferring value the way Bitcoin is used. Not to mention there are so many more technological advances from the blockchain that was created as well as Bitcoin in terms of, validating transactions and having the immutable ledgers that go along inherently with blockchain technology. So more than just Bitcoin is being brought to the table with the innovations that we're seeing with blockchain technology. Another concerning comment from this Charlie Munger character was this, I'll quote it here from the article here. I couldn't find the video on it, but he said, suppose you could make a lot of money trading freshly harvested baby brains. Would you do it? He asked. To me, Bitcoin is almost as bad. The fact that that is even on his mind, to me, indicates that he could be dealing in something illicit here, some illicit markets himself. And I know the elite have the privileges to dabble in some unimaginable territories. I won't say that he is, doing this on the side, but he is an old man. Maybe he's possibly looking into stem cell research, and that's why this is on his mind. That's just what comes to my mind when I hear him make a comment like that. I know he's known to make a lot of off-the-cuff comments. In another interview, he compared Bitcoin to turds, but comparing it to harvested baby brains is just, very vulgar and crosses the line to me. And I just completely don't understand how this man has made such a successful career in business making statements like that. Well, the times are changing, Charlie, and it's time to get with the program and stop making comments like this. Very disrespectful. And Bill Gates, however, seems like he has more of an understanding on Bitcoin. It seems like he was gifted some number of Bitcoins for his birthday once upon a time, and years later he decided to sell it. But he does, in this piece here, acknowledge that the blockchain technology behind it has a lot of benefits, including verifying transactions and sharing of databases. So it seems like he's a little bit more in touch with what the blockchain technology is bringing to the space here. And his company, Microsoft, actually has the Azure platform that helps accelerate the building of decentralized applications. So it would make sense that Bill Gates has more educated of an opinion on this matter.
At one point this weekend, you said that Bitcoin, and this was basically, you were asked, Charlie said Bitcoin's like rat poison. You were asked about that comment, and you said, well, it's probably more like rat poison squared. Charlie went on in the meeting to then basically call Bitcoin turds.
He is an expressive sort, isn't he? Maybe when he gets a little older, he'll mature.
I just want to ask you about that because it sparked so much controversy, and particularly on Twitter and some of the places where you might expect people who are trading in cryptocurrency to be pretty loud about what they heard. What is it about Bitcoin that gets you guys so fired up?
Well, when you buy a farm, you look at the crop every year and what prices are, and you decide whether it was a satisfactory investment. I mean, you look to the asset itself and what it produces for you. When we buy a business, we look at what the business earns and decide how we feel about it in terms of what we paid. But we are buying something that at the end of the period, we not only have what we bought in the first place, but we have something that the asset produced. And when you buy non-productive assets, all you're counting on is whether the next person is going to pay you more because they're even more excited about another next person coming along. But the asset itself is creating nothing. One of the interesting things, for example, is gold. If you go back to the time of Christ and you look at how many hours of labor you had to give up in order to buy an ounce of gold, and you take it forward to now, you'll find the compound rate maybe 1/10 or 2/10 of 1%. And then you have to insure it during that time and make sure somebody doesn't steal it from you and everything. But it doesn't produce anything. And productive assets, you can pay too much for a productive asset. But I bought a farm in the 1980s, and every year look at how much it produced the way of soybeans and corn. And at the end of that period, I've still got the farm, and I've gotten some significant income off of it. Apartment house, operating business. But if you and I buy various cryptocurrencies, they're not going to multiply. They're not going to be a bunch of rabbits sitting there in front of us. They're just going to sit there. And I got to hope next time you get more excited after I bought it from you, and then maybe I'll get more excited and buy it from you. And actually, we could sit in the house by ourselves, and we could keep running up the price between the two of us. But at the end of the time, there's one Bitcoin sitting there, and now we got to find somebody else. And they come to an end. I mean, those.
That's a greater fool theory. That's what you're saying.
Well, yeah, it's buying something because you expect the pool of people who want to buy it because they want to sell it to somebody else will grow, and it's wonderful because it does create a rising price. Does create more buyers, and people think I've got to get in on this, and it's better if they don't understand it. That's the other thing about non-productive. If you don't understand it, you get much more excited than if you understand it. I mean, if you buy a bond that says it's going to pay you 4% a year, you're not going to get any pleasant surprises. She's going to pay you 4% a year. But if you can have anything you want to imagine, if you just look at something and say that's magic, you can do it with shark's teeth or seashells or anything, and They did it with tulips in the 17th century in Amsterdam, and they'll do it again. I mean, people, they like to speculate. They like to gamble. And if you can get something, particularly if you have something half plausible going on, if you had bought gold in 1942 and you say, we might lose the war and we might have to run off to some other country and, so let's put our assets in gold, you would have less than a penny for every dollar you got from owning stocks. Less than a penny. Now, somebody calls that a store of value. I mean, I think they're delusionary.
Okay. Andrew has a question, too. Andrew.
Hey, Warren, related to this issue of Bitcoin, you saw that Goldman Sachs just last week announced that they were going to create effectively a trading operation around cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular. You've been an investor in Goldman. What do you think of their decision to do that?
Well, they probably think that lots of people are going to get very excited about it. Well, and maybe already are, but they think there's money to be made trading them. I don't think they're expressing an opinion on the ultimate value. I would be very surprised if the top partners of Goldman are selling their Goldman stock and putting it into Bitcoin. But I want to cover this subject now because my friend Charlie will come on at 8 o'clock and he'll tell you what he will say.
Well, that's my whole entire point. I do want to ask Charlie about it because I think when he talked about the turds, he was referring to this. He said if you're trading this, it's like watching other people trading turds and deciding you want to get a piece of that.
Well, you're not going to get me to comment on that.
Hopefully Charlie's not awake and
well,
not watching
the truth is
right
people
now.
do trade on very crazy things over time. Imagine people selling their homes to buy a tulip in Amsterdam. If people think they're going to make money the next day, and worse yet, if they think somebody else that they know is going to make money and they aren't going to make money, it just draws people in. I could whisper something on this program, and kind of the more sillier it was, the more it might react, because there's no quantitative limits. If you buy a stock, you say, well, I'll buy it at 15 times earnings, but I won't buy it at 20 times earnings. But when you get into something that doesn't produce anything, there's no checkpoints. There's nothing to reference it to. It's just, it's gone up, so it'll keep going.
Now, I will say.
And then lastly, we have Warren Buffett here. He tries comparing Bitcoin to basically other assets that he knows that are assets that produce something, such as a farm produces goods that he can then sell. At the end of the day, he still has that farm, but he also has an income stream from the goods produced. Or maybe a U.S. equity that has earnings that it produces and gives back to the shareholders in the forms of dividends, or they, even buy back some of their own stock. So it's incentive for the stock to go up in price. And a lot of them here actually compare Bitcoin to a greater fool theory, where the holders are just excited for the speculative investment in Bitcoin and excited for the next person to come along and buy that from them at a higher price. Although I do agree some of that does exist in Bitcoin, as in terms of speculation, there's a lot more to it than just a greater fool theory. There's an underlying value here, an intrinsic value that is the Internet of money. What can you value that at? Well, I think we're still going through a price discovery phase to find the true value of what Bitcoin is. I don't agree it's going to go up forever. However, it could, because inherently it is deflationary asset. There's only a certain amount that will ever be created, the 21 million Bitcoin. And as time goes, people will lose this Bitcoin and, making bad transfers. Bitcoin can get lost if you're transferring to a wallet that's not a Bitcoin wallet. If you have it on a computer with no backup save and your computer breaks, well, the Bitcoin disappears. So over time, there will be a limited number of Bitcoin and it will be ever decreasing. So a deflationary asset. Compare this to fiat currencies. They're inherently inflationary, controlled by a central monetary bank such as a Federal Reserve. So the inflationary aspect to those fiat currencies compared to the deflationary aspect to Bitcoin, per se, should inherently cause the price of Bitcoin to continually go up throughout its lifetime. So to me, these guys may be just acting defensive in terms of their own cash holdings or their own equity holdings, where they may not necessarily understand why cryptocurrency is going up and why so many people are interested in investing in it. So they do offer some good points here, but it's important to note that it doesn't seem like they're quite educated on blockchain or Bitcoin whatsoever. It took Warren Buffett years to invest in Apple, and he's notorious for missing out on investing in tech companies, so I'm not surprised that he doesn't understand Bitcoin and doesn't take the time to understand it. This is a man who's made most of his money through insurance companies, through the farm he mentions, through Berkshire Hathaway, investing in companies like Goldman Sachs, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, so he sticks to what he knows, and he doesn't seem to want to know a lot about technology. But I'll leave it up to you guys to make your own opinions on what these 3 great American investors have said on Bitcoin. And I know it stirred up a lot of emotions, so I hope to get a lot of comments on this video. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll comment back for you. Thank you for watching, guys. This is Crypto Live League. This is Ken signing out. Until next time, take care.